University. We had a good turnout with 40 attendees. We gathered feedback both at the end of the conference, and I did some pre-conference survey later that year. And from that effort, I really just wanted to get eBUG to grow a little more. We wanted to get some attendance from Tennessee and some other areas in Kentucky. And we really wanted to see how we could grow the conference. I know right now it's mainly just been a one-day conference. We've done things in the past year where we've had a little pre-conference session for an hour or two, but really wanted to see how we could expand that to maybe like a day and a half or two. And so that's what the kind of feedback we got. Everybody was really supportive of that idea. Um, I will also mention, Jamin really took on a really great effort to try to market eBUG. He did an assessment of the area and tried to identify other institutions and customers of Ex Libris that we could market to in our region. And he reached out to them via email and try to get them to know more about eBUG and the listserv, and even more of a pre-invitation to the conference 2020. Um, we had some new communication efforts this year. One of the big efforts was getting our own website. I felt that having eBUG on its own separate infrastructure and not have to jump around from institution to institution, I felt like having our own website was just a better idea. So we've got that going now. It's just www.ebug.group. Feel free to go in there and take a look around. That will be our communication channel for letting everybody know about um, the listserv, upcoming conferences, past information, and hopefully in the future we can identify ways to maybe even host documents on there. We also did an effort to make a Slack channel, and that had some chatter there at the very beginning. I think it's kind of died off a little bit, but I still want to let everybody know about that channel. Feel free to get on there and share your concerns, or maybe it's just a problem you're having with Alma or Primo. And that information is on our website, ebug.group. And another thing was Eluna has really stepped up the efforts to try to get the rug leaders to communicate. This was a great idea. We've been meeting, I think we've had about 4 or 5 meetings so far. It was really great to just get together as rug leaders and figure out what everyone's doing. Eluna is trying to see how they could better help the rugs, whether that is better financial support or organization matters. There's also the attempt for some technology efforts, Zoom, things like that. It's an ongoing conversation, and we'll see where that goes. But I was really impressed to see how far eBUG is versus some of the other groups in North America. And the final thing was, yeah, conference planning. We just, we had the idea of meeting 2020 in Knoxville. We had support. It was going to be a joint effort between ETSU and University of Tennessee. And Mike, I really appreciate your efforts in helping us kind of get out there and start planning. We were using one of their facilities there in Knoxville. We had financial support from both ETSU, University of Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and we were even looking at getting some vendor support. But as you all know, March and April came around, the coronavirus hit, and we had to make the tough decision to just call that conference off. Um, we were thinking about a virtual conference, something that would include Luna, and was doing a really good job in Ex Libris as far as sharing the knowledge virtually, and those events were free. So we decided to kind of hold off until now to really do a good, just a good eBUG update, and also have a business meeting. So as these final steps, as your eBUG chair, before I turn it over, I really want to just say thank you to the community for supporting me and eBUG efforts. I really hope to see this organization to continue to grow. Um, I want to see, us utilize our communication channels more often, listserv, Slack. I think there's some really good knowledge in the region to share. And we also need to embrace the new normal. At this point, we're still lost if, next year's conference will either be virtual or physical. We don't know at this point, but I still think there's efforts that we can do to meet on a regular basis to offer ex Libris support meetings or even talk about a particular topic. And I also want to continue to push people to volunteer for office. That's how we're going to continue to keep eBUG going. It's not a huge time effort, and you'll really learn a lot on the way. So again, that's just my comments here. I'm going to turn it over to Tal, but just to keep remind everybody, we still have a co-chair that's empty. So feel free to nominate yourself, and the link should be there in the chat. So thank you, everybody. Did I unshare my screen?
No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Travis. Yeah, this is great. And just like Travis said, we do have a co-chair, and we're looking for more people to volunteer to join our group. And yeah, 2020 is an eventful year. We went through a lot in a short time period, and the coronavirus just dramatically changed our life, our daily life and our workplace. But as a library, as a community, and we all quickly learned how to plan for the unexpected, how to adapt and respond to the reality. And so today we're able to meet virtually. It's a celebration. We're going to celebrate what we have done, what we have accomplished in the past months. And we also want to share, to collaborate, and to plan for the future and see what we can do in the near future and unexpected future. So as the local ex Libris user group meeting, we're happy today to have Eluna steering committee members and also the ex Libris vice president with us. So now, and as the meeting going on, the first thing we're going to have Eluna steering committee member Dale Poulter to give us an update from Eluna. And Dale is a director of library technology and digital service at Vanderbilt University. He has been actively involved in the steering committee since 2016. And Dale, now are you ready to take away?
Yes, if I can share my screen. Is everybody able to see my screen, just to confirm?
Yes.
Well, thank you all for being here today. It has been as Tal mentioned, it has been a fun year, one that nobody can say that they were bored during. So a lot of things with Eluna has stayed the same, which is really good. We are still a group that represents you as the user community and works with ex Libris to increase the usefulness of the products for our end users. And as you all know, interesting challenges have arisen during this COVID experience that has really pointed out places that we can make improvements and ways that we can work remotely that we never thought was possible. Why should you join Eluna? I know this year and next year will be very tough as far as your institutional budgets. I do strongly encourage you to join Eluna if you're not a member, but continue being a member if you are. Eluna is a very important organization It, with its sister organization, iGLU, are your advocates. They try to make sure that the products continue to move forward, but also they bring together the community to work together to find interesting ways of using the product. The steering committee changed slightly this year, but overall, several of the people, new members of the committee, of the steering committee, is Hung Ma, and Judy Drescher came back. Judy Drescher took a year off from the steering committee, is now returned, and Hung Ma is new to the steering committee, and she's actually is the representative to the RUGs, the regional user interest groups, that Tao and I was talking about earlier. So the world was closed, which is always a fun thing. Everybody was tied up in their house, couldn't do anything, but one thing that was apparent is that libraries were not closed, and the Eluna Steering Committee continued to work for the group. Many different things have changed over the year as far as how certain products are arranged and how the steering committee liaison roles are handled. In the past, the liaison roles were very much to individual working groups, but not sort of a cohesive group. So now there are representatives to the discovery layer groups, to the content group. And so it's a little bit different, but I believe it gives the liaisons a better ability to sort of tie the different pieces together, because different products work to provide the same services to users, but they don't work the same. And as Ex Libris has grown its portfolio of products, the wide array of users has also increased. And the steering committees have attempted to continue to move forward and make sure that we can address concerns from all of the user community. Some of the things that have started, the Rialto Advisory Working Group, which will be starting soon. The Eluna and iGLU steering committees have been working on a governance document. In the past, there's been work groups that sort of popped up that weren't really work groups. They were, groups of interest. There were sort of interest groups. And so the two groups have gotten together and are working through terms that that iGLU may have had a group that was called one thing, Eluna had a group that was called something else, but they did the same thing, and that they were actually working together. And so this is allowing the two groups to work closer together, to have a common set of terms to use for the different groups, and more importantly, to know how best for the groups to communicate between each other. And then from there up to Ex Libris, so that the communication and the voice is a single voice for the organization. The steering committees have also been working with Ex Libris to change up how the product development collaborative agreement is handled. It works great as it is, but as we add additional products, as Ex Libris acquires additional systems and products, it becomes more and more, I won't say difficult, because it's pretty much the same thing every time it happens, but it's very time consuming to work through it for every single product. And so the chairs of the steering committee are working with Ex Libris to sort of find out ways that maybe the agreement could be modified to make that process easier, so that working groups can be established quicker and actually move forward with helping and working with Ex Libris to improve the products. There is currently an Eluna iGLU enhancement request task force. Many of y'all, if you are a member of Eluna, you've had the opportunity to work with NERS, the new enhancement request system, which is very old. It's about 10 years old now. the system has done a good job up to this point, but it's been sort of stretched beyond what the intentions were, and there are additional needs for the system. And so the Joint Task Force is charged with initially coming up with a list of what everybody would like to have the system do. If you wanted to make coffee, you want to make coffee. If you want to be able to use it for voting for elections, fine. You're going to split it up for have a subsection for rugs. There you go. All of those features we're taking on. We're pulling in a full list. So and then we'll dedupe those, and then we'll take that to the steering committees and determine how best to handle from there. If you have a suggestion for the enhancement system, please don't hesitate to just drop me a note about that enhancement, and I will add that to the list. Or if you're a member of one of the other product working groups, feel free to send it to that chair. Each individual working group is collecting the information that will then be shared with the task force, who will then combine those and create a list of specs for the new system. And then from there, we'll determine how best to either modify the current system or build a new system or acquire another system. Rapid ILL, Rapid has done a really great job over COVID. If you're a member of the listeners, you've noticed that they've sort of done some free sharing, really enhancing this time and helping libraries provide services that they could not have done so without, as far as lending through ILL. There is the Rapid ILL working group that has just recently been formed. In fact, the first official meeting of the group was earlier this week. If you're interested in Rapid ILL, please let me know, or contact Troy Christensen at UTA, University of Texas at Arlington, excuse me, who is the chair of the working group. As you know, we could not have a physical meeting this year, so we moved to an online meeting, as well as introduced Eluna Learns. Those are we're having a lot of the content that we would have had at the physical conference has been contained in these, and of course these are available online too. If you log into the portal, you can actually access the recordings of most of these sessions now. It'd be interesting to know your ideas and your thoughts about these. I will say that Laura from Harvard has done an amazing job keeping things organized and keeping things moving forward. And I appreciate everybody's patience on for us to get this started and moving forward. I know it was late when we ended up canceling the conference. There were some real good reasons for that delay. But I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to when we can all meet together in person. If you have additional questions or just want to see what else is going on, there's the Eluna website, as well as the document portal repository. And that's it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I look forward to seeing all of you at eBUG and at Eluna in person, hopefully next year in 2021, because the thing to remember is that 2021 will not be 2020. So it will be much better. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. That was really good. Yeah. Do we have questions? We got a few minutes and ask question, or if you want to, you can hold your question in the later session. And I didn't see a hand raised. Okay. Then we'll move on. And next we have Jen Burke from Libris. We're all familiar with her. She was with us last year in the eBUG conference. And she's the Vice President of Strategic Initiative at Libris. She's a very well-known and respected leader in Libris and also in the library automation world. So now, Jane, you can take away.
Okay, thank you so very much. I really want to thank you for, first of all, having a meeting, because I think staying together is really important. And I want to thank you very much for this opportunity for me to give you what's going to be a very fast update. There's so much going on at Libris that I'm going to end up leaving some things out, so I'm looking forward to your questions at the end. We're so grateful for the working relationship we have with you all, and especially with eBUG members. We're very, very grateful for that. And you know, eBUG is one of the more successful rugs, and that's because you meet together, you talk together, and you've sort of developed a presence and a cadence, which I think benefits, I know it benefits Libris, and we're grateful, and I hope that it benefits all of you. So what I want to do is really fast forward through a number of the initiatives going on at Libris right now, and you know, looking forward to your questions. Libris today is very well populated. That doesn't mean this is anything that we take for granted, but we are very proud of our relationships with so many libraries around the world. Today, there are something like 1,800 ALMA libraries. There are something like 70 plus of the ARLs that are actually ALMA libraries. We're very proud of the fact that there's now more than 4 billion records in the Central Discovery Index, which keeps growing every single day. COVID has shown us how important funding is, and so our funding opportunity products, and we actually have 2 of them, are representing now information to scholars and researchers on your campuses about how they can find grants. And you all continue to just be very, very active in terms of suggesting to us all the things that we can do. You know, Dale talked a little bit about the world being temporarily closed. That was true for us and pretty much is still true for us. We had to send all 950 of our employees home. Our offices remain almost exclusively closed. And we're facing different situations around the world. Right now, for example, you may have heard that for the next couple of weeks, they have done a new lockdown in Israel. So our Israeli employees are, again, all away from the office. But, you know, we've all dealt with just some incredible circumstances this year. And we've done that at a time when your challenges and your needs just keep growing and growing. And, you know, we know that. One of the things that I think is a positive coming out of this is I keep hearing from the people that I speak with that the library is very much appreciated in this time. It's almost like it had to close for people to come forward and really appreciate everything that it was offering. And I hear from library administrators that that appreciation is being shown by faculty, by administration. And so that means that the services that we offer you have to be there for you, and we believe have to continue to expand a little because they're offering you more opportunities to be very, very involved with the missions of your institutions. And so when we look at all of these products, please don't be overwhelmed. Just take it as a sign that we're trying to stay one step ahead of the kinds of needs that we know are emerging for you, whether it's Leganto, which is for teaching and learning, Esploro for research data management, Campus M for, you know, a great mobile platform, or some of these other things. We did try to work hard with you in the midst of COVID. People have already talked about Rapid ILL and what a wonderful, wonderful community effort it was. You know, a number of the Rapid ILL customers came forward to Libris and said, we want to help the libraries that aren't going to be able to fill ILL requests. Can you quickly make a pod where people can just be borrowers and we will agree to be their lenders? And 180 libraries agreed to be lenders to more than 220 borrowing libraries. So the libraries, helping the libraries really delivering on their requests with a very, very high fulfillment rate, something like 91%. So it was really good. People used our Campus M mobile solution in some new and intriguing ways, and we now actually have people who are doing contact tracing and other things on that mobile app. We did a new Leganto program because what we heard very early, very, very early in the game, back in March, was with teaching and learning going remote, libraries needed to be able to deliver course materials digitally and completely integrated into the courseware. And so we offered a new program, brought a number of new libraries online with Leganto, who really just are saying wonderful things about it. And finally, we wanted to give libraries an opportunity to try the Alma Digital. So we opened a 3-month trial for them where they could try it at no cost to see if this would help them migrate their digital assets to a cloud platform which could be completely accessed remotely. And that, of course, is one of the beauties of the cloud. You know, one of the beauties at the heart of the platform is that you can access it. You don't have to be in a building. You don't have quite the same hassles in terms of access as you did with legacy systems. And so we wanted to see if we could extend an offer that would let people experience that around their digital assets. So I'm going to go through the products one by one and try to touch on some of the important things about each of them. And I'm sorry, you know, there's just a lot here, and I know it's going to be fast and incomplete. In Alma for 2020, one of the things that we're really focusing on is customer satisfaction. And if you participated in the Eluna sessions, you heard us speak about this as an initiative we call CS1, which is about making the system more responsive. It's about fixing more bugs faster. It's about solving some of the places where the system has gotten kind of knotted up over time by streamlining those places. And we're really very, very dedicated. Customer satisfaction with this initiative is something we're measuring internally at Ex Libris in some very, very strict ways. We wanted to work very hard on collaborative e-resource acquisitions because we know that that's an area which continues to grow. You're working with your buying clubs. If there are ways we can help you with that, we want to do that. And we're doing that in partnership with the California State University and hoping to really make something easy come out of that inside Alma. Of course, more analytics, you know, more analytics all the time seems to be something that we have to continue to work on. We've invested in more data safeguarding. You know, we were the first library automation system to get certified here in the United States by the federal government, what they call FedRAMP. We're very proud about that. Now we're doing, and we are continuing to do the same thing in Europe around GDPR. We've added a new metadata format to make it easier for you to work with your content that is not MARC. And you know, BibFrame continues to also be very much on our roadmap and something that we're working towards for 2021. And Dara, beautiful Dara, blinking away, continues to dance through Alma, offering suggestions and help. And you know, everything that I read outside the library space talks about how important artificial intelligence and machine learning are to really enhancing the customer experience. And I think Dara is an indication of our commitment to that. So just a couple of, you know, really short highlights here. If you have not played with the new Alma layout, you might want to. You might want to turn it on and get a sense of it, because the new layout is meant to really improve your visual work, your visual satisfaction with Alma. You see that we've moved the menu over to the side, giving us a little bit more space to work with on the screens. Guide Me is a little bit more apparent. So the kinds of things that, you know, we were hearing from people to make it easier with Alma overall. So, you know, lots of different ways to look at the menus a little more clearly, etc. Also, the new metadata editor finally becoming available. You all will want to work with it. It has many, many terrific features that you all had asked for over time. Of course, it is a change and people will kind of want to get used to it. But you know, when you look at the benefits of the metadata editor, always on being one of the biggest ones, so that you no longer have the delay while the metadata editor launches, but also improved usability and a number of significant enhancements. Also, we're working, as I said, to kind of unknot some processes that have gotten a little bit complicated, and PO lines is an example of that. Less clicks, better navigation. And as I referred to before, this overall initiative that we call CS1. You know, you can report bugs to us and you file Salesforce cases and we work on those like individual pieces. But CS1 is a more comprehensive initiative that we actually started last year, continuing through 2020 and into 2021, to do overall improvements to the system, to have it perform better, have it be more easy for you all to use, and really, frankly, easy for us to maintain for you. So we're looking at the user interfaces, we're looking at jobs. You know, those of you that run big reports know we moved some of that into memory and jobs are running better and faster. And of course, continuing to support APIs. So I hope you'll continue to ask us about CS1 and how we're doing with it, because it's important. What about discovery? You know, discovery is one of those things that I think, because discovery's been around now for more than 10 years, people want to kind of take it for granted, and you can't. We can't. It's too important. It's at the heart of everything we do. You know, having you manage things in Alma, if they're not discoverable, doesn't work. Having research materials in Esploro, if they're not available in discovery, doesn't work. And so we continue to put a lot of time and effort into discovery, because there's so much more data. It has to be there in the right way. It has to be easy to find. And frankly, it has to be easy to navigate, what we call context. And so, as you know, as you all know, we are rolling out CDI, the Central Discovery Index. It's live for all the summon sites. About 85% of Primo Alma sites have it, and we are going to continue to roll it out now for the next few months for places like SFX sites. It gives us an awful lot. It has brand new technologies underneath. It provides for faster ingest. It provides for faster updates. And it really is a very important function. What is most important for a Primo site is that CDI brings with it what we call single activation. So no more need to activate a resource separately in Alma and then again in Primo. You do it in Alma, that automatically activates it in the Central Discovery Index, so you won't leave anything behind. Also, what's going on with CDI is that we're making some improvements to the way that we put records together, so that to an end user, they are clearer. I know this is causing some questions about why are we doing that? Why are we merging records rather than simply grouping them? And we're doing it because, frankly, it's easier for the end user. And we can then take all the descriptors from each version of the same article record, put them together, and make each article more discoverable. All of this was driven because we wanted to improve things, but also because we recognize that with the continuing growth of scholarly publishing, there are more and more relationships available to users among the records that they might be finding. And we wanted to put into place contextual relationships. We've done that in CDI by building in what's called a graph database that actually lets us manage and show to users directly the relationships between things like books and book reviews, books and chapters, you know, things you're perhaps acquiring independently, but to your end user really need to show the relationship. And you know, we're going to be expanding on that in 2021. That's really one of our big areas. I will also say around discovery that right now within Ex Libris, we are very closely examining our discovery algorithms. It is a time of need to be particularly sensitive and to be aware of sensitivity. And we are working very hard at that. Yesterday, I was on a call with Sophia Noble, who is the author of Algorithms of Oppression, where, you know, at Ex Libris, we're taking our need to really understand in our hearts the need to never, ever allow any unintentional bias to creep in here. And we are working very, very hard at that, as well as, you know, all of the functional aspects of discovery that you talk to us about all the time. Leganto, I mentioned Leganto a minute ago. I really think that Leganto is proven itself through this unexpectedly hard time to really be a factor where the library can step forward and serve users by making course resource lists more easily available, help the faculty member who all of a sudden is having to do completely remote teaching, and it's just a terrific, terrific tool. I was at a meeting in Texas the second week of March when COVID really broke wide open, and I heard a talk from one of the Leganto users in Virginia, Mary Washington University, and that dean was already messaging her faculty that by using Leganto and having the course materials available in Leganto, she was going to be able to help them with remote teaching and learning. And that's certainly been proven. It's a very, very easy tool. We've got a great implementation around this because it really helps the library answer the need and communicate directly with faculty, as well as, of course, serving students, which really has to be, you know, at the heart of everything we do. So it makes the library a good partner. It allows the library to expose the richness of the library collections more directly to faculty, so they actually end up using more library materials, not necessarily buying things that they don't need to buy because it's already licensed by the library or an equivalent is available in the library collection. It allows the library to be very responsive to faculty as they're looking to change up stuff. And it provides great features in terms of analytics, in terms of allowing instructors to really find out which course materials are being used or not used. Sometimes that's a revelation to them. And, you know, to really help the library take a step in partnership with teaching and learning. If Leganto is a service that, you know, points at teaching and learning, then Esploro is a service that points at research. And the researchers in libraries, the researchers on campuses, you know, have done great work, but continue to struggle with how to make that great work available and discoverable, not only within their own institution, but to the world. And so Esploro is our research asset management system. We've been working on it for several years. There are now 12 customers in full production. The most recent one is the University of Georgia, and the FDA is just coming live with it. They're using it for drug research, which is a really important use. So, you know, Esploro is something that is newer, perhaps, but still very, very important and growing as we speak. It's really about increasing research availability. We have a technique called smart harvesting, where we can actually go and via machine learning gather many of the assets that might not be directly deposited in your earlier institutional repository. So we can really grow the body of knowledge which is available. Certainly campus administration likes to hear that. And we've actually seen some, you know, really great examples of that. This is one of the tools within Esploro. There's also a separate research portal within Esploro that makes things discoverable in different ways. And all Esploro assets, of course, are immediately available within our discovery service within Primo. We also have a built-in integration to the ProQuest dissertation depositing system. So if your faculty member puts their dissertation into that system, it automatically gets drawn into Esploro and made available. So lots of nice features there to really help the library participate strongly in the research side of the enterprise. So when we think about Esploro, we think about it as not only an institutional repository, a next generation institutional repository, one which is oriented to all types of materials, but we always think about it as one that's really, allowing the impact of research to be made more available. So let me just, take a breath. When I think about Leganto and Esploro, I think about solutions that we are working on in conjunction with you all to make the library more relevant for teaching and learning on one side and research on the other. But we're also continuing to work very hard at the heart processes, at the central processes. What can we do around the work that you do every day in terms of managing your resources? And one of the things that I have to mention to you, if you have not seen it already, is Rialto. Rialto is an initiative that Ex Libris and ProQuest, the ProQuest eBooks group, did together to embed selection into Alma. There is no cost to you for implementing Rialto. It's not a separately licensed module. There is an implementation of it, but it's no cost to you. And what it does is it makes available inside Alma your selection marketplace. Now, another way of saying that is to say it changes up the whole selection model, so that rather than selectors working separately in Gobi or in Oasis or someplace else, and then people flopping back and forth inside Alma, back out to the selection service, everything is done inside Alma. The beauty of that is that the inventory is right there. If a selector is considering an item, they're told immediately that you already have it, or they're told immediately that it's part of your DDA. And so they really get great information more efficiently and in a much more streamlined way. One of the first customers that went live was the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And the person that I spoke with said they had cut the time to order in half because it was just so much more efficient to do it in this kind of streamlined way. So Rialto has a marketplace. The marketplace is comprehensive. It includes many, many vendors' materials, including EBSCO's. It's unified because it's built into Alma. It has analytics and the user experience for you, your selectors, your acquisition people, really, really, really terrific. So finally, the solution that I want to mention is resource sharing. And as many of you may be aware, Ex Libris has 2 resource sharing initiatives that dovetail into one another. And we are taking those initiatives from the fact that you've told us that it is time for a different model for interlibrary loan and resource sharing. Interlibrary loan is another one of those things that's always been completely separate from the quote ILS. It's really time to bring that into your operations in a more unified, more streamlined, and frankly, less expensive way. And so we're working very, very hard on that. Our first initiative, of course, is around Rapid ILL. Rapid ILL is, with the September release of Alma, completely integrated now. And we're just thrilled with Rapid ILL and the growth of the Rapid ILL community. And of course, they're just a wonderful, wonderful bunch in terms of all the help that they offer each other and the rest of the community. It's a really great service, and it's a service that is very easy to implement. So, we're very pleased and proud of that. But Rapid ILL is essentially about non-returnables. You know, it's essentially about article requests. And so we want to move beyond that, and we are moving beyond that with a service that we call Rapido. Rapido is a service that is being built around new principles for resource sharing and interlibrary loan, including patron initiated. It's also a service which very frankly harvests the value of the cloud. This was an interesting statement that was made to me when I was telling somebody about Rapido. The person said, "Oh, you're harvesting the power of the cloud." Your resources, both your print resources and your e-resources, are the most up-to-date inside Alma. And why shouldn't we allow you to utilize some indexing across that cloud to be able to do that more efficiently and frankly more cheaply? And so this is one of the principles on which we're building Rapido, is we're actually building what we call the shared holding index, and we're building it by harvesting holdings from the groups of libraries that are using Rapido. And we expect, of course, you know, that network will grow and grow. We're also opening Rapido at the end of next year to non-Alma sites. So Rapido will be a service that can be offered to both Alma and non-Alma customers. But I think, you know, from an end user point of view, most importantly, it is that it's really being built on the ability for an end user to place their request directly in Primo. It's going to be very Amazon-like, and we're following the principles of the Big Ten Academic Alliance. Okay. One last thing I wanted to mention, which is an initiative, has to do with all of our solutions. And this is an initiative that was announced during Eluna. It's called Cloud Apps. You know, you've heard us talk, and I know you're taking advantage of the things that we do to keep our services open, all of our APIs, all of that sort of stuff. But what we said that we wanted to do as this next step of openness is allow you to create apps and have those apps run on our cloud. So instead of an app being something which is separate and maybe is in our app store, we really wanted to find a way to let apps be created and run inside the Libris platform. And we've done that. There are now 12 or 15 of these that are available. Gives you the opportunity to write little shortcuts if you'd like to. Gives us the opportunity, frankly, sometimes to write those. Gives you the ability to embed a third-party integration right onto the Libris platform. And it's called Cloud Apps, and it's available now. We're coming at all of this. I've only 2 minutes over. I'm doing pretty good. We're coming at all of this, as I said at the beginning, by working with you. You know, if you are successful, we are successful. We have to help you be successful and relevant. We have to help you take advantage of opportunities, and we have to help you do your job in the very best way that we possibly can. And, you know, we remain absolutely committed to you, to our customers, to our communities, to our user groups, and we're grateful. Are there any questions? Thanks, Jalen.
Thank you, Jane. And that's just great. You mentioned all those products that covered all aspects of library services. Yes. And do we have any questions? And feel free to raise your hand or just speak out or put it in the chat. And we do have, yeah, if you have, oh, they'll have to leave for a call. So that's fine. If you have questions about Eluna, questions about Libris, and put it in the chat, or we'll get back to you.
Well, if you think of questions, let me know. And, you know, thank you so very, very much. It was great to see all of you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And so let's move we do not have questions? And if you have questions, feel free to bring it up later, and then we'll move on. Did I share my screen now?
Yep,
What am I sharing? I'm a little confused by now.
it's the agenda.
Yeah. Get the
Oh, okay.
agenda.
Great. That's the agenda. Okay, so let's move on to the next. And I think we're doing pretty good on time. I was a little worried. It's a short time, and we do have people, lots of people want to talk, and so that's great. And now we're going to our community update. And those are the people who signed up. But if you don't sign up, you're still feel free to raise your hand to talk, to chat, to chime in. Yeah. Okay. Now, first we'll have University of Tennessee. Mike Rogers, are you ready? You can take away. I'll stop sharing.
Hey, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
How are y'all doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that we didn't get a chance to meet in person this year, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that we have this opportunity over Zoom. Thanks, Tao. Thanks, Jamin. Thanks, Travis, for pulling all this together. Yeah, it's really appreciated. So I don't really have anything formal prepared. I don't have a PowerPoint, which many of you are, you've seen my PowerPoints. They're painful probably to get through. But I just wanted to go through a quick timeline kind of what we've gone through at UT and then what we're currently dealing with right now. Of course, in mid-March, when all of this started hitting, a decision was made to basically send all the students home, send all the staff home. So campus essentially shut down for a few months. By the middle of May, it was decided to go ahead and start a phased approach to bringing very limited staff back on campus in sort of these like highly necessary roles where they required staff to be in campus. And that included some staff from the library. So we had a few come back in the middle of May, towards the end of May. And throughout the summer, we had a few staff in the building that were working in the building. And of course, as it came closer to fall, a decision was made to go ahead and have students come back to campus and try to do school on campus. And so we did that. Oddly enough, I was really surprised by this. It turns out that the numbers of student enrollment are at like an all-time high for this fall semester, especially for undergraduates. That was really surprising, I think. I'm not sure if it was kind of a sort of a coming back home moment where local residents wanted their children to be closer to home at UT if they were from Tennessee. But I know that our enrollment is way up, which is great. That's good for us because we lost a lot of money over the past several months and from a lot of different ways. But at any rate, we do have staff back in the building. We have still limited staff in the building. Many of us are still working from home and have been since the middle of March. That includes my group, which Joe and Drew are on this call. And they're part of my team with Enterprise Systems. And we've been working from home since the middle of March. On campus, I'll just mention a few quick things. There's a mandatory mask order for every building on campus, and they're highly encouraging students outside as well to wear masks, even outdoors. Many classes have gone virtual, even though the students are on campus. There are still quite a few virtual classes where they take the classes from their dorms or wherever they are. So they're really trying to limit large gatherings of people together in classrooms indoors. The classes that are indoors, I think they do spacing with the seating and everything. They have all these different, I'm not quite familiar because I'm not a student on campus, but they have different regulations and rules that must be followed, etc. They do testing at the health center. Any student that's feeling ill or sick, they have COVID testing at the health center for free. They do contact tracing. I'm not sure if some of you have seen in the news kind of the numbers of what's been happening at UT. There was a big spike initially, and the chancellor was quite upset by it. And she was going around off campus to buildings knocking on doors and saying, what the heck are you all doing gathering in this party of 60, 80 people or whatever? So anyway, a lot of that took place. The numbers are really dropping lately, which is great. But then there's the question of, well, are students just not getting tested like they should be? So who knows? The numbers look good for now. We'll see how it goes. So far, what I've heard is that they're really, really, really not wanting to send students home this semester. They really want to keep the students on campus and continue the semester as long as they can. And hopefully that will continue to happen. Not much else to report from us. Joe and Drew and I, just kind of on a practical matter for our small group for enterprise systems, we try to meet every day by Zoom, and we try to just touch base. Some days it's 15 minutes, some days it's 45 minutes. We talk about what we're all working on, what's coming up. I try to share announcements if I have any announcements from library administration. It's just a way to kind of keep in touch with each other, because it's so hard sometimes to be working from home and sort of have that sense of isolation, you know, not having your coworkers that you can just holler across the desk or whatever to ask questions. So we try to do that. Our library human resources tries to do ongoing get-togethers like socials where we play bingo, or just get together to have like a show and tell, or, you know, just ways and opportunities to meet over Zoom and just kind of have a little bit of socialization, which is really nice. And we do have library meetings with all the library staff, and those end up usually being like 130, 140 people on a Zoom call, and we have different agendas for the different meetings. And they seem to happen every, gosh, I don't know, every month or 2 months or so. But anyway, we're surviving. Thanks for listening. And I'm curious to hear what others are going through during this time. And I hope everyone's doing well and staying healthy. Thanks.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, good. I think lots of university and library are doing similar things. I saw on the chat, Daniel from UK said the same thing as you. And while I'm listening, I know Vanderbilt is doing quite similar student-wise and library staff-wise. We're doing quite similar things. And next, we have Michael Jones from Vanderbilt, and he's going to give us some updates on the fulfillment or whatever you want to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm mostly sticking to circulation sort of related adjustments that we made at the start of the pandemic, and we continue to make adjustments. So we rolled back due dates very many times as we got new information. And we did that by setting our Alma calendar hours, setting those due dates to close. All of our fulfillment units are set to roll due dates forward if they fall on a close date. So for now, we've rolled everything back to September 4th through 7th. That's even for students that graduated last semester. Our billing window is for when items become 30 days overdue. We billed for that lost item. So around October 4th, for about, I think it was 300 users, we're going to have things become due for billing. We're calling that the billing apocalypse. And right now we're considering rolling back those due dates again. We're also suspending billing fees for the year, just because some students, especially graduate students, aren't going to be paying attention to notices. Another sort of major thing that came up this year is we signed an agreement with HathiTrust Emergency Temporary Access Service. It allows one user access per held volume in place of circulation of corresponding physical volumes. It was an ideal sort of agreement when we were closed. Now that we're open, it tends to be more popular with the schools that have off-campus graduate students, so they can get to a large portion of our collection online. It's not quite as popular with schools that have undergrads, and it's sort of a burden on us to sort of explain why they can't check out the physical item, or why they can't have the physical item. But for most materials, it is a really good thing to have electronic access. Another challenge with that is because of the agreement, the Emergency Temporary Access Service Agreement, we're not able to renew the physical items that checked out prior to the agreement. So we've had to work very closely with students, some of which might be spread out throughout the world. So I've been in contact with many students from China that accidentally took their library books home, and we'd have to work out some sort of arrangement. We rolled out a pickup service in late May, around the time that library staff started coming back in sort of small numbers. And we're continuing to offer that. What we ended up doing after a couple of plans, requests are initiated via Primo, via a custom request form that feeds the request to SpringShare's Live Answers. We really wanted to do this because we mediate every request. We're electronic access preferred. So liaisons receive those Live Answers queries, and they check to see all of our databases to make sure that that we don't have electronic access before we fulfill any physical requests. We'll purchase electronic copies even if we have a physical copy. If we don't have electronic access, liaisons will forward that request to circulation staff, who will schedule a pickup service using SpringShare's LiveCal. We found out, I think it was last week, that SpringShare is going to roll out a product called Pickup Manager that integrates much better with Alma, and we plan to trial that soon. Because the current workflow is pretty labor intensive for a lot of staff members. We're offering a pickup for community members and alumni who actually aren't allowed to come onto campus for the building for the moment. So they're coming to the edge of campus to pick up materials from a couple of our libraries. The users that are allowed on campus, we're still offering pickup via outside the building, but we also offer pickup via open access hold shelves and traditional hold shelves. And that's all I have, or all I could think of for the moment. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you, Michael. And Michael did mention the HathiTrust, and I saw on the chat, people are also responding that they're using HathiTrust, the ETAS services. And I've just been interested in knowing how you do, when you have an electronic version, how do you make sure the print copy was not being checked out? Do you have any, did you all do something to kind of make sure the print version cannot be checked out? Mike?
Oh, sorry, at Vanderbilt, so they fed a list of our holdings to HathiTrust, who I think via API. I had nothing to do with this. This was all technology and digital services. But that created a label in our catalog that says access is available via HathiTrust. The physical item is temporarily not requestable. They also created a location that was not associated with a fulfillment unit that would default to no circ, no requesting for that item. we had, I think we're having a little trouble with the list that HathiTrust gave us. So first we had the list that created that label, and then we had the list that identify all those items associated with those titles. And it hasn't always matched. So sometimes we have to get in touch with our users and say, well, this is actually available via HathiTrust, and we might have to make some adjustments, put those items in the HathiTrust location or take those items out. But it's been pretty smooth for the most part.
Thank you. And I do see in the chat that UK and UT stopped using ETAS while they have access to the physical stuff. So it's kind of, that's at Vanderbilt, we're kind of having the battle between electronic access and physical access. It looked like you all don't have that type of thing since you stopped the ETAS and while you have access to the physical items.
Can I ask a quick question? Why did y'all stop the ETAS?
This is Kate Seco from the University of Kentucky. My understanding was that once we opened our building in August for patrons to come in, that we could no longer use that. So once the buildings were open for patrons to come in, then we could no longer use the offer that was available through HathiTrust. And so we sent them a note and turned that off in our Primo. Daniel can probably give you more details than I can about that, but that was my understanding.
Yeah, when I heard from my division head to first switch it on back in whatever it was, March and April, she said that it was access was contingent on the physical stuff just not being available. And so that's really interesting to hear that y'all have a hybrid approach where you're still offering ETAS. That's something I think I might take back to my folks to kick around, because we still have a ton of people who aren't on campus.
Yeah, we do have, we all know that agreement you have, if you have access to electronic version, you cannot circulate the physical book. So that's why we put those items into a temp location, do not circ. And for those already checked out, that's the battle. We have to ask them, bring them back. And there are people outside. So they're just, yeah, we are doing the best we can to keep within the agreement, compliance with the agreement. Okay, great. And any other questions? And how are other libraries doing? All those community libraries, are you using the HathiTrust ETAS, or just, are you still closed? Are you open? Do you do some pickup services?
There's a question in chat.
Mm-hmm.
Can any library get a trial for the Spring Show product that integrates with ALMA for pickup? Michael, you might know more about that, because don't know if there's a trial version or.
Yes, I can say.
Is there?
There is a trial version. You have to contact with their representative, and they usually, I haven't started this trial yet, but we did another trial. It's just you send them an email. They're pretty responsive, and just they set you up with 1 month for trial. And we have some email communication with our group. We're going to start a trial for this thing. Okay, and now let's move on to our next. We have University of Kentucky, Kate Siegel from University of Kentucky. And Kate.
Yes. I'm the director of acquisitions, and I'm going to focus my comments around what acquisitions did. The University of Kentucky libraries were alerted during our spring break that campus was moving online and students would not be returning. So that was kind of our demarcation line. Acquisitions staff began that week shifting to remote activities. The electronic resources unit, which is part of acquisitions, was the first ones out the door, setting up at home on it and getting ready to gear up. Our library IT was very helpful in getting us set up. we rated the stores for all, we rated what was available at the libraries in terms of sending people home with laptops, extra screens, whatever they would need to make a home office doable. The first thing we did was we communicated with vendors to stop our shipments for firm orders and approvals. Obviously, some of them also got in touch with us and said, we can't ship anymore. So that was a big thing for us, was to see where we could hold shipments, because we were told the campus would not be receiving, or the libraries would not be receiving mail, and all campus mail was going to a off-site storage area, since at that point we're not aware of what the potential infection risk was for handling the materials on it. Obviously, we began to receive a lot of requests for online. We shifted our approval plans to online only. Also, as our classes got back, we began to receive requests for, this ebook only lets one user use it. We need it for the class, or can we get more seats for this electronic resource on it? And we had a lot of vendors just at that point open content for the classes on it. In some cases, yes, we did have to acquire and pay for additional access, but I was pleasantly surprised at the number of times I sent a request saying, we need this on it, and they just write back and say, it's open on it. Meanwhile, for the acquisitions department, what we did was we had weekly check-ins with supervisors and kept our staff going. So April through June was ordering. Our streaming content hit the roof on it. A lot of our classes were using DVDs in our AV media library, and of course they were no longer accessible. So we ended up trying to identify ways to get film for streaming. We used Canopy, we've used Swank, Alexander Street, a variety of places, and obviously ordering more ebooks throughout it. The one area that we found the most difficult to get electronic content for was for architecture and design. I had one class where they sent me a list of 10 books, and I was only able to supply 2 of those books electronically, even searching through HathiTrust, the Internet Archive on it wide. So that was the one area that we experienced some difficulty on that. In terms of our invoicing, we had started a transition with our business office back in the fall to go paperless. So that proved a good move for us, because we were all now remote and could not exchange pieces of paper easily. And luckily had a lot of the process worked out, and my staff in the business office were able to get the rest of the invoice processing working for us. So we are now basically paperless in terms of doing invoice processing on it. Meanwhile, our ER team was working very hard to keep up with all the resources that became open and handling problems that came up and on it. Along the way, on it, particularly as the semester wore down and we were still off campus through late May and June, we were able to have some staff shift to some cleanup projects, and we did get a couple projects done that were at the, kind of at the bottom of the list. It was kind of like, these would be nice to do, like make sure some early purchase order lines had the licenses attached to them, and things like that. And so we were able to do some cleanup projects that normal activity, you know, my print serial folks normally being in, checking in the journal volumes would not have been, you know, they've been checking in the volumes, not doing these projects. So that was a side benefit of the pandemic. In July, we began returning to the building to process mail. Outside of our dean's office and our mail group, my print serials folks were the first ones back in the building, so to speak, and basically to deal with mail. And the monograph folks soon also went in. We kept it for a very limited time, about no more than a half day, and staggered shifts so that nobody. So we have an open office concept for all of our staff areas, so it's difficult. Social distancing and so on is difficult. So we have a requirement that people wear masks when they're in the open offices and that they keep the distance, and we do a staggered schedule on it. And in July, knowing that the library was intending to reopen in August as the university restarted, we began communicating with vendors about resuming shipments. We did make a decision to keep our approval plan E only because we knew a lot of the classes were going to continue online. And if there was any kind of spike or concern, that campus would move back to completely online. So currently our ER unit remains off campus, and it continuing to work from their home offices and doing a really good job, in my opinion. My print serials group, each member of that group comes in about twice a week for about a half day and get the journals out. All of our library's areas, with the exception of special collections, are open so we can send items to them and get things on the shelves on it. And then my monograph folks, each member comes in about approximately twice a week. They are obviously, when they're in the building, concentrate on dealing with the print, doing the receiving and copy cataloging. And since the building's open and the circ staff and stuff are there, we are able to move the books from acquisitions over to labeling, over to circulation and shelf. We do try and keep an extended period between them. So we try, you know, if my person handles the book, then the next person is not going to handle the book for 3 days. So we do not have rush on it. We do have notify, so that if a professor wants to know or anybody wants to know when a particular book has become available, we will let them know, whether it's an ebook or a print book. But we are very careful to tell people that 24-hour turnaround is not an option for that. And that's kind of where we stand with acquisitions. Obviously the other big thing in terms of the acquisitions world is dealing with the fact that we have an impact to our collections budget and we'll be dealing with a budget reduction over this year and probably the next 2 years is what we're planning on at this point.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And we do have Travers, also an e-resources librarian from ETSU, and what his experience with the resources, that type of thing. Yeah. Travers?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. So I'll just give a brief update. I feel like our experiences have been very similar to some of the others. We did reopen the library in the fall. Our campus is, from last time I heard, is pretty much 80% online, 20% on ground. We still have a lot of students on ground, just, you know, living in the dorms. We've implemented a lot of social distancing, separating chairs. There is a mask requirement. for the front desk area, you know, we want to limit the amount of physical interactions. So we are looking at options such as MeScan for self-checkout. We put some kiosks in the library, and a lot of the reference and help has went virtual. So we're doing a lot of like manning chat as many hours as we can. We don't have any physical reserves that I know of, and you know, kind of moving toward electronic resource point, we've had a few projects this year. Um, the biggest one I think everyone here has done is the CDI transition. I believe a lot of us are on NAO2. It was a little complicated at first because, you know, our ALMA, we are a little unique. We have multiple institutions on ours. We share ETSU and Northeast State share an ALMA. I felt it, you know, kind of straightforward to implement and turn on, but the thing that kind of bugs me right now is the duplication of ebooks. You know, we're kind of in this point where we don't want to suppress our records because it has an effect on scoping and some, mainly scoping on Primo. And then, you know, if you do suppress your local records and turn on the CDI, then you do get the book chapter results. So it's like you have to kind of pick which one you want to do unless you just want to have duplicate records. And I still want to, you know, sit down and take a look at more of those options later this fall once things calm down. We've had an emphasis on virtual resources. So we used to have a anatomy lab. It's closed this fall. And so we actually acquired some virtual anatomy resources to help with that. ETSU did upgrade to ProQuest 1 earlier this spring. So that provided a lot of extra books that we didn't have. And we are also doing a project this fall. It just kind of happens to line up the way it did. We started proactively scanning the bookstore lists for required texts. With a lot of those students not on campus and doing online, you know, they need access to those resources. So we were actually quite surprised to find that we had about 150 or so courses that we actually had access to. A lot of those textbooks were already available in the ProQuest subscription, so that was definitely of help, but we also went and bought about 30 or 40 more of those textbooks, unlimited use licenses, and got those classes set up. So I don't think the instructors were aware of the ability of us being able to offer those textbooks. And so it's really, it's kind of sparked a new partnership, being able to proactively, you know, see opportunities like that. And I think that's all I have to share. Thanks, Tal.
That's great. Yeah. And we do a lot like good sharings. And I think, yeah, we all seem doing similar things and also a little bit different from each other. But due to the time constraint, we have to move forward. Jamin, do we have questions on the chat? No, okay. But if you have any questions and you want to share something, feel free to post it in our listserv, any other ways. Yeah. Now we are going to the last session, the eBUG session. And I sent out an earlier message. We have a 2019 business meeting, the minutes we need to approve. Let me show you the minutes. Have you all read that in minutes? Let me see. It's on our website. Where is it? I don't remember. Oh, I really don't remember now. Oh yeah, here. I have a link here. Meeting schedule and did you all see the meeting minutes? And so have you already read, or Jen, can you post that link to the chat so people can click to go to their chat? And so we'll just give you a minute to read through. quick. And if you all finished reading, I will post a pool. I'll launch a pool so we can all see that. Can you see that pool now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Yeah, you can just have 14. I see the number growing. Any more people voting? 22. I don't think I can vote. That's a problem. Okay, we got 25, 23 out of 25 voted. Pretty good. So I'm going to end the vote and the polling and share the result with everyone. See that 23 all say yes. So that is approved. We'll move on. Share the result. Okay. And the next thing we're going to do is...
This is the treasurer's report.
Oh, the treasury report. Jamin, take it
Yep.
away. Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing.
All right. We had a busy year this year, didn't we? When it comes to the treasurer's report, not really much to talk about. I want to mention a few highlights. One of the biggest things is that we did change our banks. We went from PNC Bank to BB&T Bank, which is now owned by SunTrust. The reason why we did that is because there are no PNC banks here in Tennessee. So it kind of made it hard for us to keep our account there. During this time, and when we thought we were going to have a face-to-face conference, I looked into different software for invoicing, and I came across a web-based software called Wave, and it's free for us. So I've started using that. And here is the report. Our beginning balance was $2,724.74. We initially had a sponsorship of $350 for the eBUG conference when we thought we were going to be meeting face-to-face. As far as our debits, we signed up for the Google domain for the eBUG website. That's $20 a year. And then, of course, we refunded the eBUG conference sponsorship. So our net balance now is $2,704.74. Are there any questions? All right. We'll start sharing. Turn it back to Tal.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we have that money in our bank. So maybe next year when we were finally able to meet together, we'll see. Yeah. And the next one is where is my next one? We have, what's the next one? The next one is approval of bylaw changes. And I send out that bylaw change. Hold on, stop sharing. I send a bylaw on the mailing list. Everyone should have received that. And now we're going to, okay, hold on. Couldn't find the bylaw. Let's go see the bylaw. We're going to vote. And I know some people may already vote, but that's okay. For those who haven't voted, now let's vote online. And the voting, the vote address is here. Send it to this page. Go to the chat and click that link and go vote. Everyone vote there. So then we'll see the results. And I'll close the pool. I'm not sharing, right? Okay, we got 22 votes by now. Okay, so there is a voting result. 25, great, we got 25. And oh yes. So I think we're close the pool by now.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. So we got this taken care of. And the next thing is we will have a election of officer. And do we get any volunteers by now, Jamin?
I don't
Let me
think
see.
so.
And then should we do the write-in, right?
Did anybody submit anything? I don't think
Submit.
I've seen anything.
If nobody submitted, I'll throw my name in the hat.
Oh, great.
I mean, if that's cool. I
Okay.
mean, I can do a little speech to make it a little more formal if needed.
Yeah,
But
well, I think you probably will be the only person and we'll vote for you.
Well, I will say I've been with the UK as head Primo admin and assistant Alma admin for over 2 years now, and I have a history of getting involved in staff governance at UK. I've been a longtime member of the UK Staff Senate, and I've been committee chair of my Integrated Library System Committee at UK for the last year. So I think, yeah, if you guys give me a shot, I think I'll do right by y'all.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll put your name into the bylaw, into the ballot. So DANIEL. You're from University of Kentucky.
Yep. Yeah, as a longtime, twice as a graduate and a longtime staff member.
Mm-hmm.
And
generating the the ballots.
Lifelong Kentuckian supporting the land grant university or land grant mission of the Commonwealth and the university.
Oh, Big Blue.
Yeah, and a proud papa of 2 rowdy Yorkies who are fortunately not hollering in the background with my mic on.
I don't have a second one. I'm going to delete that and I'm going to save and send out this to you all. Am I still sharing?
Yes, we just see the
I see the
agenda.
Oh,
eBUG
okay.
business slide, yeah.
Okay, let me see how I. Okay, I'm posting form here and oh, hold on, not right. Didn't put the name there.
Ty, you could probably just do a hand vote, everybody that's here.
Oh, okay.
That might be just easier.
Might be easier since I'm trying to generate the form now.
I do a lot of Zoom
I
moderation.
got the form. Okay, let's send out the URL to everyone. See, and where is the chat? Oh, stop sharing. Okay, did you? Oh, that's too long,
Yep.
right?
It's
Is it
fine.
correct? That is
Yep,
correct?
it's fine.
Yeah, it
Oh,
looks like
okay.
there's a line break in
So-
there, but looks like it works.
Okay, it works? Okay.
It works, just works.
Okay, now it's voting time. Put your name in.
I guess while we have a sec, I want to give a quick shout out to Travis, because some of my folks, UK, are kind of, I spun up a integration of his new books thing that he showed off at last
I did
Eluna, and
too.
I've got some of my folks in UK system are looking at it right now, thinking of maybe using it.
Mhm.
Thanks, Daniel, for sharing that. I mean, I wish I had more time to work on it. There's so many more things I'm thinking about to do, and I don't know, maybe we all can get together and improve it. But I really want to say thank you for stepping up and running for eBUG. I'm excited.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to getting out there more.
Awesome.
Okay, great.
Daniel,
Now we have Daniel.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for stepping up. Okay, now we are concluding our eBUG. Oh, hold on. Where is my, stop sharing. I think for now, we end our meeting, and thank you everyone for coming. And it's really great. We had a good discussion. We shared what we're doing, and let's continue doing that. And we also have a new officer, and congratulations, Daniel, and great. And we're moving forward. Next year, I don't know whether we can meet physically, but I do hope so. If not, we'll continue to meet virtually, and we'll maybe have a longer session. And we did talk about if we were able to, let's do a longer session. We want everyone to participate. We want more presentation. We want to hear your voice. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tal.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone
Thank
have a
you.
good weekend.
Yeah, everyone have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, everyone.